Lily had always loved the quiet of her suburban home. It sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, surrounded by tall trees that offered privacy and a sense of peace. But lately, that peace had been shattered. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her, lurking just beyond the shadows. It started with little things. Doors that she swore she'd locked left slightly ajar, strange noises in the middle of the night, and that unsettling sensation of being followed when she walked from her car to the front door. She convinced herself it was nothing, just paranoia. After all, this was a safe neighborhood. But one night, things escalated. Lily was getting ready for bed when she heard a faint tap on the living room window. She froze, straining to listen, but the sound didn't come again. Shaking her head, she brushed it off as the wind. But when she turned off the lights and climbed into bed, the unease returned, stronger this time. She lay there in the dark, trying to convince herself she was overreacting. Then came the creak, a soft but distinct sound, like a floorboard slowly bending under the weight of someone's foot. It came from the hallway just outside her bedroom. Lily shot upright in bed, her heart racing. Someone was inside her house. She reached for her phone, but her hand froze as the doorknob to her bedroom turned, ever so slowly. Her breath caught in her throat, and a cold sweat broke out across her skin. The door opened just a crack, and in the sliver of darkness, she could see the silhouette of a man, tall and broad-shouldered, standing perfectly still. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then, as if he realized she had seen him, the man stepped into the room, his face hidden in the shadows, but his presence unmistakably menacing. Panic surged through Lily's body, but she had prepared for this. She had felt this coming. Without thinking, she reached under her bed and pulled out the small handgun her father had given her years ago. Her hands shook as she aimed it at the figure. "Get out!" she screamed, her voice shaking. The man hesitated, his head tilting slightly, almost as if amused. He took another step toward her, his movements slow and deliberate. He wasn't afraid. He didn't think she'd shoot, but Lily wasn't going to let him win. With a shaking finger, she pulled the trigger. The deafening sound of the gunshot filled the room, and the man staggered back, collapsing onto the floor with a thud. For a moment, the only sound was the ringing in her ears. Lily's breathing was ragged, her hands trembling uncontrollably. She stared at the man lying on her bedroom floor, his body still and lifeless. She had done it. She had stopped him. But just as she began to lower the gun, something shifted. The man's hand twitched, then his chest rose as he took a shallow, raspy breath. His head slowly turned toward her, and even in the dim light, she could see his eyes. Wide open, filled with fury and something else, something dark and unholy. Lily stumbled back, her mind racing. He should have been dead. She had shot him point blank. But as the man's body began to twitch and jerk like a puppet on strings, he slowly sat up, his movements unnatural, almost inhuman. With a horrifying grin, he whispered in a voice that chilled her to the bone, "You can't kill what's already dead." Lily's blood ran cold as the man stood up, his eyes locked onto hers, still smiling that twisted, malevolent smile. She backed toward the door, her grip on the gun tightening, but deep down, she knew that whatever this thing was, it wasn't human anymore. As she fled from the room, she heard his slow, deliberate footsteps following behind her. The nightmare was far from over.